Do skin cancer interventions increase sun protection behaviors in adults? A systematic review. Presented by Stacy Stapp. Skin cancer has become a growing public health problem, and each year skin cancer incidence increases. It was estimated that nearly 72,000 Americans were diagnosed with melanoma in 2013, which resulted in roughly 9,400 deaths. UV rays emitted from the sun, sun lamps, and tanning beds can cause damage to skin, resulting in premature aging and skin cancer. Skin cancer risk can be reduced if precautions are taken to avoid UV exposure or protect skin when UV exposure cannot be avoided. Sunscreen use, protective clothing, shade seeking, and UV avoidance are all ways in which an individual can protect themselves from damaging UV rays. Skin cancer interventions are conducted with the aim of increasing skin cancer awareness to improve UV protection behaviors. However, with skin cancer incidence on the rise in the U.S., these interventions need to be more closely examined to determine if they are effective in providing participants with adequate information regarding risk, susceptibility, and severity of skin cancer. Closely examining skin cancer interventions will allow for a better understanding of common skin cancer and UV protection perceptions and will help to create future interventions that more adequately target and change sun protection behaviors. The purpose of this systematic review is to analyze the effect skin cancer interventions have in changing sun protection behaviors. There are very few studies that have analyzed the effectiveness of skin cancer interventions in improving or changing sun protection behaviors. This systematic review aims to determine what types of interventions are successful at changing behavior, which sun protection behaviors are changed, and which behaviors remain unchanged after such interventions. The research question for this systematic review is, are skin cancer interventions successful in increasing rates of skin protection behaviors in the U.S.? 4 studies met all inclusion criteria and were included for analysis in this systematic review. The study by Pagodo et al. Utilized skin cancer questionnaire and photoaging intervention on females at 2 public beaches in eastern Massachusetts. The study by Heckman et al. Used a skin cancer website and a tailored interactive web intervention on both males and females ages 18 to 25. The study by Glanz et al. Compared generic skin cancer communications to tailored skin cancer communications on males and females ages 18 to 91. Lastly, the study by Stock et al. Utilized a combination of skin damage Polaroids and either skin damage or skin cancer educational videos on male Iowa Department of Transportation workers. All studies compared the effects that different skin cancer intervention methods had on sun protection behaviors at various times post-intervention. Based on the results of the included interventions, skin cancer websites and print communications regarding skin cancer did not increase UV avoidance behaviors at various times post-intervention. However, interventions utilizing photoaging and tailored web interventions were able to increase UV avoidance behaviors at various times following the intervention. Skin cancer websites and skin aging videos did not increase skin protection behaviors at any point in the time following the intervention. However, interventions utilizing photoaging, skin cancer videos, and tailored interactive web interventions were able to increase skin protection behaviors at various times post-intervention. This review found that the use of protective clothing increased post-intervention. However, at the 1-year follow-up, this behavior returned to the pre-intervention level. It does not appear that sunscreen use increased post-intervention. The study by Pagodo et al. Showed a decrease in sunscreen use 2 months post-intervention, and the study by Glanz et al. Showed an increase in sunscreen use post-intervention. Limitations within this study stem from differences in quality scores, intervention populations, and sun protection behavior categories. The study by Pagodo et al. Received a JADED quality score of 1 because double blinding was not used within this study and the methods for randomization were not adequately described. The other included studies received a JADED quality score of 3. This discrepancy in JADAD quality scores could lead to bias within the systematic review. Variances in quality scores between the included studies should be taken into consideration when analyzing both individual and combined results. Each of the included studies focused on different populations of study participants. Participants in the study by Stock et al. Were males who worked outdoors for the Iowa Department of Transportation, while participants in the study by Pagodo et al. Were female beachgoers. These differences between study participants could have an effect on sun protection behaviors post-intervention. It is likely that male outdoor workers have very different perceptions and attitudes towards skin cancer and sun protection compared to females who spend time at the beach. Also, study participants ranged in age from 18 years of age to 91 years of age between each of the 4 studies. Participants under the age of 40 likely have different views on UV exposure compared to participants who are over the age of 50. Younger individuals may associate UV exposure and being tan with beauty, and it may be harder to change sun protection behaviors in these individuals. Variances in sun exposure perceptions among different populations and age groups should be taken into consideration when evaluating the findings of the systematic review. Another limitation of this study stems from discrepancies in sun protection behavior categories. The studies by Heckman et al. And Stock et al. Do not describe which sun protection behaviors are included within skin protection. UV avoidance, sunscreen use, and protective clothing could all be lumped into this general behavior category. The studies by Pagodo et al. And Glanz et al. Used specific sun protection categories like sunscreen use and protective clothing in their research design. This systematic review found no increase in sunscreen use or protective clothing post-intervention. However, these behaviors could have been included in the skin protection category in the studies by Heckman et al. And Stock et al. The use of a broad and unspecific UV protection category should be taken into consideration when evaluating the findings of the systematic review. The findings of this review show that skin cancer interventions are unable to increase all types of skin protection post-intervention. Public health professionals need to conduct further research to develop skin cancer interventions that are effective at increasing all UV protection behaviors, including sunscreen use and protective clothing. Increasing all forms of sun protection is important because of the high incidence of skin cancer in the U.S. Those who regularly expose themselves to the sun need to understand the potential harm that comes from UV exposure and be aware of all precautions that should be taken to reduce risk of skin cancer. I would recommend that public health professionals develop skin cancer interventions that utilize photoaging in combination with UV education to promote and encourage all forms of UV protection. When individuals participate in photoaging, they are shown their own level of skin damage as a result of sun exposure. Photoaging interventions are targeted and tailored specifically to the audience, which creates a sense of urgency. Following a photoaging intervention with a UV education component would help the audience further understand the importance of skin protection and the dangers of UV exposure. I would recommend that future researchers develop interventions that utilize photoaging in conjunction with UV education, which promotes the use of all forms of UV protection. Based on the findings of the systematic review, these intervention methods had the most measurable effect on increasing some sun protection behaviors. Creating similar interventions that focus on the benefits of all forms of UV protection may be effective at increasing sunscreen use and protective clothing post-intervention.